In this video, we'll be talking about why you should start using word art as an alternative to text boxes for students to label, sort, and fill in the blanks with words that you've already created. Word art is one of my favorite features in Google Slides and Google Drawings. Now, you might be wondering, what is word art? Well, word art is essentially text boxes with words, but they allow students to easily click and drag the words around their workspace and without accidentally changing the word. In my first example here, I've created an activity in Google Drawings where students are going to be labeling places and landforms in North America. On the left-hand side of the screen, I've created several labels using text boxes. And on the right-hand side of the screen, I've created those same labels, but using word art. So I want to show you the difference. Let's first look at the word Mexico on the left-hand side of the screen. If I want students to click and drag the word Mexico onto the map, they would first naturally click in the middle of the word Mexico and start to drag. But as you can see, when I drag, it actually highlights the word. And when I just click in the text box, you can actually change this word. In order to move the text box, you have to click on the edge of the text box once the cursor becomes more of a compass shape, and then you can drag it. So again, you have to click either in the text box and then click again on the edge, or you have to know that you have to click a little bit above the word when the cursor changes to a compass in order to move it. Now, I've seen sometimes where students click in the text box and start dragging. These letters can actually even get mixed up because, again, it is an editable text box. Now, let's go to the right side of my screen where I created these labels as word art. I can click in the middle of this first word Mexico, as I'd naturally do, and drag the word onto the map. When I click on the word Canada here, you'll notice that it's not an editable text box. Students cannot change that word right now, but they can click in the middle of the word and drag it. In order to change one of these word art boxes, you actually have to double click on the word and then change the word. Now you're probably wondering, how do I create this word art? So I'm going to go to my next activity. I've created a parts of a flower diagram, and I want to create the labels in word art for my students to label the parts of a flower. So to do this, I'm going to click at the top of my screen, the word insert. Then I'm going to go down and click word art. A box appears, and I will type in what I want that label to say. So I want it to say petal, and I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Now you'll notice the word petal is quite large, and it's in a light blue color. In order to change the word's color, I can click this fill color icon with the bucket. I can change the color. I can go to the next icon, the border color, and I can change the border if I want. I'm going to make it transparent so it's not there. I can also change the font of this label by clicking on Arial, and then I can choose the font. I like to choose Poppins or Cabin, Patrick Hand. Those are easy fonts for students to read. And then in order to make this word smaller, I just click on the blue box in the corner and resize it until it's the size that I want. And now if students were to move it, it's the correct size. Now you don't have to go through all those steps to create multiple labels. Instead, I can click on the word petal, then I'll use Control-C on my keyboard to copy and Control-V to paste. And I can paste as many labels as I need for my students to complete this diagram. In order to change the word from petal to something else, you double click on the word and type in what you want it to be. So again, double click on the label you want to change and type in the new label that you want to appear. Now, we've talked about how you can use word art for labeling maps and diagrams, but you can also use word art for filling in blanks. So maybe math equations, or in this case, students are going to complete sentences using words from a word bank. At the bottom of this screen, I have created a few sentences with blanks. All of these words on the left-hand side have been created using word art. Students read the sentence, and then they choose the correct word to click and drag into the space. Another way to use word art is with your word work activities. In this activity, students are learning about the long I sound, specifically IGH. I created these word art labels over here. If I double click on them, you can see that I just typed in IGH. And what my students will do is they will click and drag these letters onto one of the lines to make a word that they're working on. Again, they just click and easily drag it into the space. This can work for any kind of word pattern or sight word practice. You can also create sentences. As you can see here, I've created a sentence using word art. And before my students get this copy, I'd scramble the words for them, and they can work on putting the words in order. One last way to use word art is to create a word sorting activity. You can see here in Google Drawings, I've created a word sort where students are going to sort their words based on the sound that EA makes. On the left-hand side, I created each of these words using word art. So if I double click on the word treat, you can see that is where I typed the word treat in. When it's time to give this activity to students, they'll read the word and easily click in the middle of the word and put it in the column that it belongs in. Again, they can just read the word, click it, and easily drag it to where it belongs. Now, I hope after watching this video, you see the benefits of using word art and are already thinking about how you can use it when you create your activities. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please rate us on TPT, and don't forget to let your teacher friends know where they can find this course.